how social connections affect your health and lifespan. Let me ask you a simple question. Think about the last meaningful conversation you had with someone you care about. A friend, a neighbor, your sister, or perhaps your grandchild. How did you feel afterward? Lighter? Happier? Maybe even a little more energized? That feeling isn't just something happening in your mind. It's affecting your body as well, your cells, your bloodstream. And today, I'd like to share what scientists have discovered about that feeling, because it may be one of the most powerful forms of medicine you've never been prescribed. Today, we're going to talk about something that doesn't cost money, doesn't require a prescription, and is available to every one of us: the power of human connection, and the extraordinary impact it can have on both the length and quality of your life. Take a moment to think about that. Imagine waking up one morning. It's just after 7 o'clock. The sunlight is slowly streaming through the window. The aroma of fresh coffee fills the house. Everything is calm. Everything is quiet. Perhaps a little too quiet. You prepare your coffee and sit down at the table. The phone is silent. No one is knocking at the door. No one is calling. No one needs anything from you. At first glance, it may seem peaceful. After years of working hard, you've finally earned control over your own time. There's no rush anymore. But as days turn into weeks, into months, you begin to notice something different. The silence in your life is growing, and that silence is no longer confined to your home. It has begun to settle inside you as well. So is this simply an emotional experience? Or can it affect your health too? Modern science offers a very clear answer. The social connections we build with other people influence not only our happiness, but also our physical health, mental resilience, and even how long we live. And this isn't just an opinion. Scientists have been studying this subject for decades. Recent research shows that strong social relationships have a far greater impact on our health than most people realize. In fact, some researchers compare the health effects of social isolation to smoking, physical inactivity, and other major health risk factors. In other words, the relationships we build with others don't simply make life more enjoyable. They can also influence both the length and quality of our lives. Some researchers suggest that the impact of strong social relationships on longevity may be just as important as regular exercise, and in certain cases, perhaps even more important. Today, we're going to explore a very important question. Why do some people remain energetic, happy, and healthy as they grow older, while others become increasingly fragile? And why might a large part of the answer be found not in medications, diets, or gyms, but in human relationships? Why are human beings social creatures? To understand the answer, we need to look back into our past. For thousands of years, people lived in small communities. Our ancestors could not survive alone. They hunted together, worked together, protected one another. When someone became separated from the group, they didn't just become lonely. Their chances of survival dropped dramatically. As a result, the human brain evolved to place enormous importance on social connection. Even today, feeling accepted, experiencing a sense of belonging, and forming meaningful relationships remain fundamental human needs. Just as we seek water when we're thirsty, we also need social connection. Because our brains often perceive loneliness not as a normal condition, but as a potential threat. This can become even more noticeable as we age. Many of the social roles we've held throughout our lives begin to change. Our careers come to an end. Children build lives of their own. Friendship circles may become smaller. And without realizing it, we may experience less social interaction than before. But the brain's need for connection never disappears. Whether we're 80 years old, the need for meaningful relationships remains, perhaps more than ever. What does loneliness do to the body? At this point, you might be wondering, how could a phone call with my daughter possibly affect my health? Let's take a quick look at the biology behind it. When you have a meaningful conversation, when you share a laugh with someone, when you feel understood, your brain releases a hormone called oxytocin. You may have heard it referred to as the bonding hormone. Oxytocin helps lower blood pressure. It helps reduce stress. it decreases inflammation, and it supports a stronger immune system. But loneliness tells a very different story. When we feel lonely, when we become truly socially isolated, our bodies enter a state of low-level but persistent stress. Cortisol levels begin to rise, sleep quality declines, the immune system becomes weaker. Think of it this way: loneliness sends a message to your body that you are not safe, and your body responds accordingly. It remains on high alert. Over time, this can place strain on your heart, your brain, and your immune system. Research suggests that social interaction may be just as effective as physical exercise when it comes to slowing cognitive decline. Several large-scale studies involving millions of people have produced striking findings. One meta-analysis examining 90 long-term studies and more than 2.2 million individuals found that both social isolation and loneliness significantly increased the risk of death from all causes. Researchers also observed links to cardiovascular disease and certain types of cancer. Of course, this does not mean that everyone who experiences loneliness will develop serious health problems, but it does provide growing evidence that social connection is one of the fundamental ingredients of healthy aging. Talking with people you care about may be as beneficial for your brain as taking a walk. And there's more. Researchers found that the quality of a person's close relationships at age 50 may predict future health outcomes more accurately than cholesterol levels. More accurately than cholesterol. That's a remarkable finding. Most people think of loneliness as purely an emotional experience, but loneliness affects more than our mood. It affects the body as well. It's important to understand that living alone does not automatically mean someone is lonely. What matters is not physical isolation. What matters is how connected a person feels. Some people live alone and still enjoy strong, meaningful relationships. Others can be surrounded by people and still feel profoundly lonely. The real difference lies in the quality of connection. Having people you can truly talk to, people you trust, people with whom you can share your thoughts and feelings. Sometimes loneliness is not caused by the absence of people. It's caused by the absence of meaningful relationships. And over time, that absence can affect both the mind and the body. What does science tell us? Now let me ask you a question. If you went to the world's leading researchers and asked, what is the single most important factor that helps people stay healthy and happy as they grow older, what do you think they would say? Money, success, good genes? Back in 1938, researchers at Harvard University launched what would become the longest-running study of human happiness and health ever conducted. They began following the lives of 724 men. For more than 80 years, researchers tracked their health, relationships, achievements, and life experiences. So what did they discover? The conclusion was remarkably clear. The strongest predictor of a long, healthy, and happy life was not money. It was not fame. It was not even genetics. The most important factor was the quality of a person's close relationships. That point is worth repeating. One of the most important factors in maintaining health and happiness throughout the aging process is having strong, meaningful relationships. Dr. Robert Waldinger, the director of the study, summarized it this way. People who are more socially connected to family, friends, and community are happier, physically healthier, and live longer than people who are less well connected. Now let me share another surprising statistic. An analysis of 148 studies involving more than 300,000 participants found that people with strong social relationships had a 50% greater chance of survival compared to those who were socially isolated. 50%. That's not a small difference. That's the kind of result that medical professionals take very seriously. What's even more remarkable is that the effect remained consistent regardless of age, income, or education level. Social connection matters for everyone. In many ways, human relationships may be one of the most universal forms of medicine. In 2023, the U.S. Surgeon General released an official advisory identifying loneliness as a major public health concern. Its impact on health was described as being comparable to some of the risks associated with smoking and obesity. Another study published in 2023 found that older adults who engaged in regular social interaction tended to have greater brain volume, while social isolation was associated with shrinkage in certain brain regions involved in cognitive function. More recent research has also linked loneliness to poorer memory performance. Why does our social circle shrink as we age? Every stage of life is different. When we're young, we constantly meet new people. We have workplaces, schools, children's activities. Social opportunities seem to appear naturally. But aging changes things. Some of those built-in opportunities for interaction begin to disappear. We no longer see the same people every day. Friends move away. Some begin facing health challenges. Others sadly pass away. These changes are completely normal. As a result, our social circles often become smaller. Many people notice loneliness gradually entering their lives during this period. And it rarely happens all at once. It happens quietly. And over time, social connections begin to weaken. According to a report from the National Academies, approximately 1 in 4 Americans over the age of 65 is considered socially isolated. 1 in 4. Perhaps someone watching this video, perhaps your neighbor, perhaps a friend, or perhaps even you. Life can change quietly, and with those changes often come difficult feelings, loneliness, feeling forgotten, feeling invisible. These feelings are real, and they are not easy. Before long, a person may find themselves feeling much more alone than they ever expected. But here's the encouraging truth. Loneliness is not destiny. It can change. Sometimes even a single new connection can make a meaningful difference. In one study conducted in the United Kingdom, older adults who felt lonely were paired with volunteers who simply called them once a week. After 3 months, participants experienced lower stress levels, improved sleep quality, and significantly greater life satisfaction. Just one phone call each week. Sometimes positive change begins with something that simple. But there is an important point to remember. A smaller social circle may be unavoidable. A smaller social life is not. The human brain never loses its ability to form connections. New friendships can be built at 70. New communities can be joined at 80. Meaningful relationships are not reserved for the young. The impact of social connection on mental health. All of us face difficult days. There are times when we feel sad, times when we feel anxious, times when life feels overwhelming, and those are often the moments when social connections matter most. Sometimes a brief phone call with a friend can completely change the course of a day. Sometimes a conversation with a neighbor can lift our spirits. Sometimes simply knowing that someone is willing to listen can lighten a burden we've been carrying alone. When people are able to share their thoughts and feelings, they often cope with stress more effectively. The problems may not disappear, but they become easier to carry. That's why strong relationships matter not only during the good times, but during life's challenges as well. As we age, we inevitably face health concerns, losses, and major life transitions. During those moments, social support can become an incredible source of strength. Laughing together matters, but enduring life's hardships together matters too, because sometimes people aren't looking for solutions. Sometimes they simply need to know they are not alone. The secret of the world's longest living communities. If you truly want to see the power of social connection in action, let's take a look at some remarkable places where people consistently live longer than almost anywhere else in the world. The island of Sardinia in Italy, the region of Okinawa in Japan, the community of Loma Linda in California. In these places, it is not unusual for people to live well into their 90s and even beyond 100 years of age. Researchers refer to these areas as blue zones. So what do these regions have in common? Advanced technology? Expensive supplements? A miracle diet? No. Their common thread is something much simpler. Researchers have been studying these communities for years, and they continue to arrive at the same conclusion. The people who live there are deeply connected to one another. They eat together. They spend time together. They visit one another regularly. They depend on each other. In Okinawa, people belong to small groups of lifelong friends known as moai. These groups often remain together for decades. They support one another through both good times and difficult times. In Sardinia, multi-generational living is still common. Grandparents remain an active part of family life. They are not left behind. They are needed. They are valued. Loma Linda, meanwhile, is one of the best examples of how a strong sense of community and an active social life can contribute to exceptional health and longevity. Researchers do not believe this is a coincidence, because a sense of belonging is one of the fundamental components of human health. Study after study points to the same conclusion. Strong relationships between generations not only add years to life, but also add life to those years. What can you do to strengthen your social connections? Perhaps you feel that your social circle isn't as large as it once was. Maybe some friendships have faded over time. Maybe meeting new people feels more difficult than it used to. That's completely normal. But the good news is that social connections can be rebuilt. And often, it's easier than we imagine. The first step might be calling an old friend. It might be spending a few minutes talking with a neighbor, joining a local community event, becoming part of a walking group, or volunteering for a cause you care about. The goal is not to create the perfect plan. The goal is simply to take a small step, because meaningful change often begins with small actions. A phone call, an invitation for coffee, a friendly greeting. These things may seem small, but sometimes they become the beginning of the most valuable relationships in our lives. Be the one who reaches out first. Don't wait for the phone to ring. Send the message, write the postcard, knock on your neighbor's door. Research consistently shows that people tend to underestimate how much others appreciate being contacted. And finally, build relationships across generations. Spend time with your grandchildren. Participate in community activities. These kinds of connections can strengthen your sense of purpose, support mental well-being, and improve overall quality of life. Focus on quality rather than quantity. You don't need hundreds of friends. One or two genuine friendships may be enough. People who truly know you, people who listen to you, people you trust. These are some of the most valuable relationships you can have for your health and well-being. One final thought. For much of our lives, success is often defined by certain achievements: a successful career, a comfortable home, financial security, personal accomplishments. But as the years pass, many people discover a different truth. The most valuable memories in life are usually the ones shared with other people. A laugh with a friend, an evening spent with family, a cup of coffee shared together. These are often the moments we remember most. That's why healthy aging is not only about what we eat. It's not only about how many steps we take. It's not only about the medications we use. It's also about the people in our lives, who we talk to, who we laugh with, who we create memories with. Perhaps this is one of the most important secrets to a long life, that we were never meant to go through life alone. After watching this video today, do one small thing. Call a friend. Send a message to a family member. Knock on a neighbor's door. Reach out to someone you haven't spoken to in a long time. Because every meaningful connection you create does more than brighten your day. It can also strengthen your health, your happiness, and your overall quality of life. And remember, living a long life is a wonderful goal, but having people to share those years with is one of the things that makes life truly meaningful. I wish you a healthy, happy, and deeply connected life. Take care, and goodbye.